If you're a horror fan, then you're a fan of Stephen King. There's no questions asked. I know these podcasts have been really John Carpenter heavy, but fuck man, I love John Carpenter. Especially when paired with Stephen King source material. John, if you're out there listening, please don't die before I finish my screenplay for the Thing sequel. For those unfamiliar, Christine is the story about a young nerdy high schooler named Arnie. Arnie's jock friend Dennis has a super cute girlfriend and a super sweet muscle car, the envy of all socially outcast high schoolers. Life changes completely for Arnie when he comes across a decimated red 1958 Plymouth Fury named Christine rotting away on George LeBay's front yard with a for sale sign in the window. Unknown to Arnie, the original owner George LeBay's brother Roland committed suicide inside of Christine. As the film progresses, we learn of Christine's evil intent as well as her jealousy towards Arnie's new girlfriend. The relationship between man and machine solidifies, and Arnie and Christine begin this sensual love affair with one another. The love between a man and his car, amplified to the point of personification. After Christine is more or less destroyed by Jim Morrison... No, wait a second, that's not right. After Christine is more or less destroyed by Glenn Danzig and... Wait a second. No. After Christine is more or less destroyed by Buddy Repperton and his gang, Arnie finds the mangled wreck of his new love, beaten, destroyed, and with a fresh turd laid right on the dashboard. It's now that Christine shows her true self to Arnie. She's comfortable enough to take her clothes off, let's say, and show Arnie all of her intimate secrets. Arnie caresses and coddles his love, letting her know that everything will be okay and he'll fix it. Arnie sees Christine's supernatural potential as she teases him with the hope of self-repair. She plays hard to get by not fully fixing herself when she totally could have. Arnie takes a few paces back, he turns to his mutual love and demands, "Show me." And boy does she. Instantly after Arnie's request, her brights shine loudly to gain his full attention as she begins to seductively strip for him and make herself factory perfect just for her man. Christine shows him her deepest secret, and Arnie loves her even more for showing him. This is why she wouldn't do this for George LeBay. George did not love her like Arnie did. Christine could fix herself, she didn't need George to do it for her, but why should she? Why should she let this man into her life whom she didn't love, who didn't love her? Why should she open up her ultimate secret to this caretaker, some charlatan looking to make a quick buck off of her used-up, cumbersome existence? Then along comes Arnie. Young, naive Arnie. He exhibits a true effort in wanting to restore Christine back to her former beauty. This is the motivation that Christine needs to believe in herself again. She needs the pure, genuine love of Arnie to give her the strength and become whole again. We witness the lovemaking of Arnie and Christine in Darnell's garage, where Arnie is working to restore his only love, his only social partner who doesn't judge him and only loves him for who he is and what his love provides. Christine is vulnerable, she's weak, she's been beaten, she's been abused, she's found broken and demolished by Arnie in the dead of night at Darnell's garage. Now it's here, after hours in Darnell's garage, that a teenage boy and his beat-up classic car make love to one another. Not some sick fuck who likes to rub his dick on rusty cars. A true and passionate lovemaking session between a man and his first car. What kid can't identify with that? Christine doesn't need no man to fix her, and she shows Arnie by seductively performing for him in what I can only describe as a full-on XXX porno scene between a man and his demonically possessed car. The scene is pure sex, it's dripping in blinding love for one another. Christine's willingness to open up to Arnie shows him a vulnerability that he can now identify with, which he's never experienced before. They make love in that garage for the first time, and it's oddly beautiful. She can't wait to show him all the things that she can be for him. It's the first time that Arnie feels a positive bond with a member of the opposite sex, albeit a hunk of mechanized steel. The dance is seductive and raw. The score that plays features a striptease-esque saxophone riff as she offers herself to Arnie, who watches entranced like a teenage boy seeing his first pair of tits. Arnie, being the outcast that he is actually having his very first sexual experience with this chunk of mangled steel, and she's reciprocating every step of the way. I don't mean to interrupt this sensual interlude, but I do really have to call attention here to the amazing practical effects of this film. this was 1984, and the scenes where Christine reconstructs herself hold up about 35 years later. I know some of it is really just reverse shots, but I'd rather see that than millions of dollars worth of bad CGI. Deadpool. Christine has fallen in love with Arnie's love for her. She's comfortable with Arnie seeing her for who she is, and he only loves her more for it.
You're mine, and we belong together.
It's now that Christine shares the same passions as Arnie, which just happened to include killing all of his enemies. It's kind of hard to feel bad for Christine by the end of the movie. Sure, she's poisoned Arnie's mind with her love, but isn't that the natural course of true, honest love? Wouldn't you fight your true love's enemies no matter what the pretense? And that's exactly what Christine does for Arnie. She hunts down his bullies methodically, one by one, but in the process, she harbors jealousy for Arnie's human girlfriend. And why shouldn't she? Arnie's love is now being divided by his true love and his human girlfriend. If I were Christine, I'd be pretty pissed off too if you confided all your love in me and then started making out with some other girl in my front seat. Yeah, that's right, choke on it, bitch. Arnie and Christine have a bond that is beyond all mortal knowledge. Their quote friends, however, decide what's good and not good for Arnie and actually plot to assassinate his true love. She only defends herself in my eyes, protecting the only person that truly loves her for who she is. She even rebels against Darnell himself when he attempts to enter her, and she murders him for his violation of her. Is Christine an evil, murderous Carr, or simply a woman in love with her man who will defend him no matter what? If your so-called friends tried interfering with a loving relationship, are they actually your friends? Sure, Arnie was becoming somebody that they didn't like, but the selfishness of Dennis and Lee was what ultimately led to Arnie's, and I suppose Christine's, demise. Arnie loved his relationship with Christine, and she loved him back in full. Are we watching a story about a possessed killer Carr with malicious intent? Or a story about a man and a truly sentient Carr, deeply in love with one another, who would do absolutely anything for one another, only stymied by the selfishness and holier-than-thou attitudes of both Dennis and Lee? Now, it's easy to watch this film and regard Arnie as a weak shrimp who obtains the confidence needed to vanquish his enemies via a classic Carr. But the real story is about a wimpy guy who gains confidence in himself through the support and assistance of his lover. A love story between two unexpected souls against the entire fucking world, together. Two living souls constantly abused and tortured, only finding solace and love with one another. Fuck Dennis, fuck Lee. Arnie and Christine had a true love, a non-superficial love which transcended all sex and physicalities. They had a beautiful connection which nobody understood. Not best friends, not lovers. And while Christine's love for Arnie was nothing but pure, she was murdered, defending her true love to the death, quite literally. So Christine was not an evil murdering bitch. She was a loving, caring soul who wanted nothing more than to protect her lover, her soulmate, from those who would do their love harm. Christine's a Greek tragedy. She wasn't some possessed Carr out to kill just anybody. She loved her man and wanted nothing more than to protect him. Love is something that you can't define personally. It's for you and your lover to define. Arnie and Christine had a loving bond that no two other living beings could share. I don't look at the ending of Christine as a victory for Dennis and Lee, but more like a selfish triumph that only catered to the wants and needs of two people who just didn't understand the passion of two socially different beings madly in love with one another. It's tragic as fuck, and I, for one, will never see Christine as a villain, but only a protective, but sometimes jealous lover who wants to provide nothing but the utmost protection for her true love and soulmate, and the only person to ever give a hot shit about her, besides old Rollie LeBay. Goddamn shitters. Thanks for checking out this 4th episode of Pancakes House. The show can be heard on iTunes, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. For questions, comments, or advertising opportunities, feel free to reach me at pancakeshousepodcast@gmail.com, or on Twitter @2pancakeshouse, or on my Patreon page at patreon.com/pancakeshouse for access to exclusive material and extras. See you next week.
But